Fullcast Copy AI is an all-in-one AI platform that helps go-to-market teams plan, create, and most importantly, execute campaigns faster across marketing, sales, and RevOps. The entire life cycle of go-to-market is extremely fragmented and contains lots of permutations that need to be juggled. Copy AI is a really elegant way to bring those problems together and to execute from a single point of control. Some examples of this: when you are bringing a product to market, you may want to talk differently to different personas to make sure that your message resonates. You may want to message differently per segment, per geography, per language, per sales stage, and so on. All of these individual nuances become quite difficult to marshal. They become very difficult to enable your teams on. What we've done in the platform is give you a mechanism that you can use to codify the behaviors, the tone and texture of the messaging and writing that you expect, such that your team across sales and marketing and RevOps are delivering exactly what they should be at each turn. Crucially, brand voice, style, and the feel of how customers experience you across sales and marketing are baked right into the fabric of Copy AI. That means that the content will be on brand, that it will feel like something that is organic, that has been created by your team, so that experientially there is no loss, because quality is as important, I would argue, more important than quantity. And in the realm of AI, it's really important that you try to leverage both. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in the Copy AI platform to help you boost your execution. The premise of Copy AI is to deliver a lot of leverage and a lot of throughput to core functions of go-to-market. Most companies live and die by their CRM as their system of record, as well as a number of other ancillary systems. So let's start there. If I am a rep at Copy AI and I'm covering ADP as an example, I want to know that I have the freedom to always come here, hit this button to get refreshed account research. So what has changed between today and yesterday? Now, of course, I may not want to hit that button. I may want this to be configured such that this refreshes at the beginning of every quarter. No problem. I may want this to be configured such that account research and other things happen predicated on business conditions. For example, if X number of people inbound from this company. So we'll intercept these signals and trigger workflows. The workflows I'm talking about come in and do this. They essentially populate out the exact signals that I care about, that I need to understand as a seller to stand a chance of fighting my way into an account or upselling within an account. Now, there's a ton of information here. This is how we like to do it internally. This may not be fit for your purpose. So what our teams will do here is engage with customers to understand what is the level of information we need, what is the level of look back we care about, how do we make sure we include citations so that sellers, both on the BDR and AE side, develop trust in the research we're bringing back. All of this is part of the intake process. Subsequent to that, we're always going to make sure that we are doing some ideation and thinking on your behalf. It's not that we're just going out, getting wholesale bits of text and injecting them into the system. We're also using ideation steps to help your sellers and marketers understand, how do I position what I am bringing to market, my own value propositions, in a given account. So in this case, we'll see ADP is expanding in a specific geography. So we're talking about things that are relevant to that geography. We're talking about localizing content and doing other things that are very specific to the situation on the ground today. Again, this is driven by button push based on logic that's baked elsewhere or based on a calendar action. Now, this by itself is super useful, and you can imagine the utility that this drives in large organizations in particular, where perhaps 1,000 accounts will change hands every quarter or every fiscal year. Are you going to rely on the quality of the notes that the last rep had? Probably not. You want this to be trusted to a workflow that has the best practices codified in, that has your current talking points baked in, that has your current playbook as part of the fabric. So that's what we do at Copy in the background. I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. But it's important to understand that the utility that you're seeing here is not limited to sales. It also extends into marketing, because sales and marketing are two sides of the same coin. It's really important that that same research that you saw a second ago be maximally used in things like creating landing pages, such that you're taking the cognitive load off your customers when they visit your website, as an example. Or perhaps that your reps, in particular your ramping or junior reps, show up to meetings with talking points pre-distilled, prepared for them, so that they're not asking inane questions and starting things off with a lot of friction. All of this is made possible through Copy AI workflows. If we look at the underpinnings of what drives the creation of account plans, that workflow looks like this. This is essentially a log of a bunch of these that have been run. You'll see ADP in there. What's happening in this workflow is that we are listening to Salesforce. When an account change happens or some other appropriate signal triggers this workflow, we're going to go in, we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. We're then going to run this deep company research agent that is gathering a whole bunch of Q&A for us. We're then deciding, based on what we have surmised in that research, what should our messaging matrix look like that references internal context that we have stored in your table. That is what is then used to drive angles. And you can imagine how much utility this drives when you have ramping reps that perhaps don't have the expertise just yet to bring that signal to every discussion. That is what we're doing here on a wholesale basis. Beyond just doing all the research, distilling things down, we're also making sure that the formatting is appropriate. This may seem like a really silly thing, but it's really important that the content is very easily skimmable. So we're formatting this such that the signal is available to the reps so that perhaps they can glance at their second screen during a discussion to make sure that they're hitting all of the salient points. This is completely customizable. If, as an example, you were selling into, say, a cybersecurity company, you may want to be able to guess the number of digital endpoints at that company. That can just be an additional research node that we stick in here that ultimately makes its way back into the account plan. Now, this same research that we're doing here can then be forked and used for marketing activities like landing pages, like leave behind one pagers, and any number of other artifacts. When it comes to the research that we're enabling, we've talked a lot about the account level, and of course that is super important. We also go a level deeper than that. We want to make sure that we're able to do that same level of account research and scouting at the individual level as well. So if we look here, we have a person who is a vice president of marketing. That's in the sweet spot as well for Copy AI. So we'll see here that we've found this person on LinkedIn, built a bit of a book on her to understand what does a postage stamp portrait of this person look like? What do they likely care about today? At the end of the day, we're all humans. We may be working towards bigger corporate objectives, but we have our own objectives directly in front of us that we need to care about. So it's important that we're profiling at the individual level as well and building a series of use cases that we feel will be of interest to this person. Finally, the confluence of this research that you see here, driven by yet another Copy AI workflow that itself is also customizable, that can listen for very precise signals, flows into the very bottom of what you see here, where we are then developing messages to prospect to this person. So if you're using any number of last mile tools, we can propagate from here to those tools. And increasingly, these systems of record have sequencing tools to be able to do that messaging from right here. On the content side of things, we already touched a little bit on the fact that we can create landing pages and one-pagers, but that is really the tip of the iceberg. You really want to make sure that any buyer, before they reach out to you, has had a chance to gather some additional signal. What that looks like typically is exactly what we do on our own website. We definitely drink our own champagne. So when we think about the level of content that we are creating, it's really important that we are writing in a tone of voice that is picture perfect for how we want to project ourselves. It is really important that we're capturing the right keywords, backlinking effectively, linking out to third-party sites effectively, but also establishing our authority in terms of our credibility when it comes to writing about certain topics. So this page has been composed dynamically by Copy AI, pushed to our website, but it's been written in such a way that it's ticking a number of SEO boxes, but also increasingly answer engine optimization boxes as well. You'll see here we have a question in a header with some answers down here. That's because the frontier models of the day reward this Q&A pattern to make sure that you're increasingly visible inside ChatGPT, inside Claude, inside Gemini. That is super, super important because the patterns are pretty clear. Users are increasingly foregoing search engines and just going straight to those large language model chatbots. So that's exactly what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure that we're giving you as much coverage for all this content that you're creating. And once again, that content itself is being created by Copy AI. So when we think about the kinds of things that we're doing, there are lots and lots of workflows that are in the mix here. The packaged ones are the really, really important ones. We do things like inbound processing, as well as content creation for a number of different kinds of marketing functions. All of this is super customizable, but the important thing is that we've done the hard work of understanding what are the typical baseline 80% of things that everybody cares about so that we can give you not just the leverage and throughput that AI permits, as well as what our platform affords, but what are the additional shortcuts we can give you by virtue of the scaffolds that we have in place, both within our proprietary packages, as well as within the library here of all the greatest hits, the kinds of things people really can grasp upon really quickly and start building away. I would say probably the final thing I would throw in here is that the platform itself has been built in such a way that there is the entry into the platform. Everybody's first exposure to AI is typically chat. There is then a series of other controls that make sure that we are able to function for you at a meaningful clip in an enterprise. I'm talking about specific things like the ability to synthesize brand voices, the ability to integrate into a number of the core GTM systems of the day, the ability to interoperate with other applications using API keys. All of that is standard within a Copy AI enterprise deployment. And it is the mandate of the solutions team to make sure that you're getting utility out of the system very quickly, as well as managing context and really doing sensible things with AI at scale, rather than just taking ad hoc stabs at things via chat alone. So workflows are really where the magic happens, but we have that entire progression available to you such that you can go from zero to designing and running a meaningful campaign at your organization.